Hello and welcome to our Engineering Superstars podcast, where we meet real life inventors, builders, and problem solvers who are making the world a better place one idea at a time. I'm Ashleigh, a specialist recruiter at Pertemps, helping brilliant engineers find exciting jobs, and today we're meeting someone really inspiring. Santina is an engineer who's working on amazing projects to help people every day. We're going to find out how it got started, what makes engineering so cool, and what her day in her life looks like. So, Santina, I'd love to know. Sorry, jumping in. Hello, lovely to meet you. So I've done massive amount of research on you. You are very inspiring. You've obviously been doing loads of bits. I've seen you've done lots this year as well. So you are Young Professional of the Year, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that was just before Christmas, and I was the youngest ever in its 23-year history at the age of 19. And it was a complete shock, I have to admit, because on the night I won the Apprentice of the Year category, and I totally forgot that there was an overall winner because there was about 15 different categories. So I was there, enjoying the food, enjoying drinks, and they were like, the overall winner is me. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was so shocked, but I was so happy, so proud, because it validates the hard work that I've been doing, and to be able to celebrate with the friends from my company, and it just made it even better, really. And I think since then I've really felt uplifted by Birmingham and the community, and I've had some great opportunities off the back of that. So it really goes applying on a whim, it can work. It does
work.
Put yourself out there.
You've got to put yourself out there. And I think in engineering you've always got to kind of beat everyone else, because it's a massive male dominated industry, as we know for many years. It's really cool that you've won that and making movements in the industry.
Yeah, definitely. I think the main reason why I wanted to do, and I do the day job, but I do a lot more, is because when I started out, Ashleigh, when I was looking for jobs at 15, 16, there weren't many people like me out there who I could visibly see. And, when I got the role, I was like, I want to be that visibility. I want to be that role model that a young person who was in my position can look up to and see all the amazing things that she's doing and just know, okay, I can do that too. So I think that's why I really do push the boat, and I really do go above and beyond and try to do these different things to just show what's possible.
I think it's difficult because in our industry, especially in engineering and construction as well, that there is a steady flow of women coming in, but it's taking some time. And I love placing women into jobs and going that extra mile, because it is, you go onto a building site, as you probably well know, and they're not really there. Does that you don't really see as many women as...
To clarify, so with my engineering, I'm mostly office-based, and I think, again, that's another issue. Engineering is so broad. You've got aerospace, you've got mechanical, you've got civil, which is what I'm doing. You've got people who are contractors who are out on site. You've got the people who are in the office doing engineering. There's just so much to it. It's sort of overwhelming knowing where to start looking.
It's not just one, is it? It's like
No.
20 different avenues that you can go down. You can go down so many. And I think when people just put, oh, you're an engineer, there's so many different engineers out there that so I still come across some now, and I'm like, what do you do?
Like, I came across fire engineering, and now, like, it's logical and it makes sense. But then when I started, I was like, what? That's a thing?
Yeah, it's massive.
It is, but I have to admit to the listeners, when I started engineering, I think I was quite naive going into it. I knew at school I had that passion, I had that creativity, I'd done some work experience, and I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. But going into civils, as I said, it's so broad. I guess I didn't really understand like the subcategories within it, but I think I got lucky that I've ended up with a good team, and in fact, beating the stereotypes within my inner team, 6 of us are women and there's only 1 man. And there's also, like our group leader's a woman, and my team, I look around and there is that representation, and it's very encouraging because I see, my line manager in the senior position, and I'm able to see she's worked hard, she's got there based on merit, and I can do the same thing. So I think I'm very fortunate to be in an engineering environment that, I have got that visibility and representation.
Got them people that you can aspire to be and kind of understand it as such. So within what you work on, is there any projects that you've worked on in the past that you'd be like, yeah, that's really cool, that would recognize that kind of that's a cool
Yeah,
project to work on.
definitely. I think, as I said, civils are so broad. So a bit about what I do. So I work specifically within the ground engineering team. I say it's arguably one of the most important teams because nothing can be built without assessing what's in the ground, if there's any contamination, if it's safe to put a building on, all that sort of thing. So I work in that team and we work on infrastructure projects. So that's building, bridges, road, highways. And a recent project that I worked on just before Christmas was based in Ireland, and there was an aerospace manufacturing company that was looking to expand their premises. But there was a lot of uncertainty around the ground that they were going to be looking at to build on. And so we were sort of assessing the settlement. So that's caused by when the building's on the ground, how much it sort of sinks into the ground. So it was a lot of like numerical data, a lot of 3D modeling. And it was just so fun because I was learning so much. I was using different softwares. I was doing the 3D work, but then I was also doing the analysis. And I was able to see that at the end, the figures that we produced was backed up by the model. So it was a really proud project that I got to work on. And I always like those projects because you learn a lot. And also, it's in a different country, it's a different industry, aviation, and it's just very cool.
You get to fly, and just see a different kind of area where you are learning every day still. When you were younger, when you were a little girl, did you know you want to be an engineer, or how did you get to where you are today, essentially?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I vividly remember in primary school, it was year 6, it was like a careers day photo shoot, and I had got the hard hat on my head, and I was like, I want to be an engineer. I don't know where that came from, but it just started, and I liked Lego, I enjoyed that sort of thing.
Love a bit
My
of
brother,
Lego.
yeah, exactly. My brother was into it, so I think if you've got a brother who does that sort of thing, you get into it a bit more. And then throughout secondary school, I'd done some work experience, as I said. So some was virtual. Actually, it was all virtual because it was COVID, but it was still nice to be able to talk to engineers and understanding what they do. And I did, like a task with the other students. And then also like the STEM subjects. So they were quite championed at school. So I did a project with the Institute of Engineering and Technology, and I got to go to Thorpe Park and I had like a whole day out there, which was super fun. So I guess, yeah, I was very lucky that early on I kind of figured out what I liked, maybe where my skills aligned. And I think I was really lucky with the apprenticeship route. I was doing it at a time when it wasn't, the apprenticeship that it is today. It wasn't like publicly championed. And so I was very lucky where my potential, where my school weren't able to give me that well-rounded career advice. My mom came in because she had that education background, and she was like, oh, Santina, look into this apprenticeship. It's really good. I'm able to earn money, gain a qualification, gain skills, get into, a big company. And it's very competitive, let's be honest, when you graduate uni. And I was like, right, what is there that I wouldn't want to do? This is an amazing option. So yeah, after GCSEs at the age of 16, I was the only one out of 150 students to do an apprenticeship, which actually is crazy, but it just shows, back then it wasn't the normal path. But I think now actually the time is turning and people are seeing like, wow, it's such a good option, and it's so competitive. Like it's more competitive than university.
It is, and I work with a lot of my clients actually bringing it apprenticeships in. So this is what I'm massive to kind of make that movement. Years and years ago, it'd be you finish school, you go to uni, you get a job. Or if you didn't go to uni, you went and got a job. That was it. There was no you can go and learn another way.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you saw the recent announcement, but the government has announced they're going to be spending £3 billion on apprenticeships. And there's a policy around level 7. They're encouraging level 2, level 3s. And I really think that government backing shows that people are understanding this is a really important topic. This is a really important pathway that can help so many young people get into the sector, get those skills, not have to go down that traditional route. And I think, that publicization around it and that positive, seeing apprentices out there doing amazing, it's just helping to encourage people and feel like, okay, I can do this. And I think especially the parental perspective, I think a lot of parents have that stereotype, okay, traditional university. But, you can still go to university with a level 6 degree apprenticeship. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to Warwick University, which is one of the top universities in the country. So, yeah, I'm glad to see that the times are changing and the people are sort of waking up and realizing.
And we're moving forward within stereotypes years ago are now changing. I think that's another big thing that we're seeing as obviously women coming into engineering. It is getting a lot bigger. Like you said, most of your team are women, which is great because we are changing ideas. Because I know if I walked on to, say, example, a building site, normally it would be mostly men. So it's lovely to see a different tide coming in where women are doing the same jobs as men
Yeah.
and they're still getting the same opportunities
Yeah,
within
definitely.
that. So when you went to do this apprenticeship, when you were looking for your apprenticeships, was you looking for more engineering side, or was you kind of open within that?
Yeah, no, so I think my actual experience, so I only applied for 5 different companies. So they were all 5 engineering companies that I had done my research on, because I think that's the important thing. A lot of people, they apply for 40, 50, but you have to understand the company that you're going to work for, understand their values, their aims, all that sort of thing, their culture. So I was like, okay, let's just be small and selective. And then the process, I have to admit, it is quite a lot that goes into it, because it's not like UCAS where you submit one form and then they all get back to you. You know, different companies have different requirements. You need your CVs, but I was able to do that with the support of my mom. And then Arup were my top company there, who I work for now. And they got back to me first. So I did an interview, did an assessment centre, got offered the job, and I was like, right, I don't need to do anything else now. I'm in. So I started Arup at the age of 16 doing a level 3 civil engineering apprenticeship. And that involved going to college part-time to do my BTEC.
Okay, that yeah, it does seem a lot more simple than what I think sometimes people believe. Does that make
Yeah,
sense? It's not as, it's hard at the same time you're working, but you're also still getting a qualification at the end of it. So you
yeah,
said
absolutely.
you're at university at the moment. Is that you're just growing and kind of getting a new degree and things like that? Is that what
Yeah,
you're moving
so
to?
so I'm at Warwick University. It's a 5-year course. It's a BEng in civil and infrastructure engineering. So the way I do it's quite unique. I do a block release, so I go 1 week every month from January to June. Whereas I know some other degree apprentices, they go on a day release, so a day a week. And I really like that separation from university and work, because I'm able to fully immerse myself. We're on campus, last week I was surveying using like the total stations, the leveling tools, all that sort of thing. And I think it's nice to have that. But the one thing I do want to stress with being an apprentice, it's not easy. You do have to be a proactive, hardworking person, because you are growing up quite quickly. You're managing the responsibilities of working, as well as exams, assignments, all that sort of things. There are a lot of advantages, but I want to stress that it's not for
Yeah.
everyone at all.
It's just more easier with the process to get into an apprentice. It's, if you want to go out to work but also get that qualification, it sometimes will go hand in hand and be
Yeah.
the better option for you. I did speak to some apprentices that are looking to come into it now.
Okay.
Prior to this call, they had some questions for you.
Okay.
So one was, do you get a lot of support before your exams when you're doing the apprentice?
So I think it's dependent on the company, because
Mm-hmm.
different companies will have different policies. But I'd like to think that most companies do have study leave. So I'm entitled to 4 days of study leave for the year. So for example, I've got exams coming up end of June. I'll take those 4 days before my exams. But I think it's also, as a person, just being open and transparent with your team. The team will understand that you have got a lot on with university assignments, and just, if you are struggling, letting them know. But I think that's with any job, in any position, whatever you're going through, you have to tell people, you can't keep it in. So yeah, I think I'm very fortunate that my team is very supportive, and I do have that study leave. And also, as with anything, you probably will have to use some of your evenings, some of your weekends, but you do that if you're doing university full time. If you do want to achieve the best, sometimes you do have to put that effort in. So yes, I'd like to think that most companies will give you study leave, but obviously it really is dependent on the companies you go for, which is why I'm saying do your research. And if you do get to those interview stages, ask those questions.
And just one more that was asked is, when you're applying for apprenticeships, what is one tip that you would recommend the
Yeah.
most?
Okay, absolutely. I think I've got a few, if you don't mind.
No, you can get as many. I'm sure they want as many as they want.
So I definitely say know how to sell yourself in the way that you're talking and you're wording your CV and these application questions. I think sometimes, like my generation, we're a bit shy. We don't really want to talk about all of our achievements, but this is the time to say everything that you've been doing. Whether you're part of a club at school, debating society, you've got a position on a council, that sort of thing, or you've got a job, you're volunteering. put it all down. And I really want to stress the importance of having work experience and getting that down on your CV. And for me, my work experience, obviously I did my online ones, but I also worked at a charity shop. And even that builds my communication skills, my time management. There's so much you can extract from that. So seeing if you can get work experience in some sort of sector, it doesn't even have to be relevant to what you want to apply. Obviously, if it is relevant, that's even better. But being able to do that will really kind of boost your application.
And is there anyone that you look to as a role model before 16 to get into the sector?
You know what? I wouldn't say there was anyone specifically within the sector at that time, but I just have to say I was quite lucky. My brother had done an apprenticeship as well, the same one that I did, the level 3. So it was nice to be able to have him to talk through his experience of what he was going through. Because although he's now not in engineering, he's doing project management, it was able to see a nice insight into what he does. But I'd also say like my role model was my mom as well, in the sense of the support that she offered me, because, you know, when you're starting out, I was 16, I was so young,
Don't know what to do.
yeah, exactly. What did I know? And I think, you know, a lot of people, they do have the support, some don't. And I think that's where schools can really, they kind of need to educate themselves on that diverse career options, because I think that most schools know how to support students really well when they're doing UCAS. But it's like, you know, you need to teach your students how to do your CVs, how to do application questions, where potentially they don't have that parental support to come in and help them. So yeah, my mom's definitely, I always have to give her a shout out, because she's really helped me and made me the person that I am today.
Well, to be fair, I must admit, mums are the best, and
They
she
are.
must be very proud of you with that. So was there a favourite subject in what you were doing in school? And did that help you decide to go on civils, obviously what you're doing, or?
So I did triple sciences. So I did enjoy science, and obviously it is maths and physics. Like my degree is basically maths and physics. So I do think you have to have some interest in like those sort of areas and subjects. So yeah, so I guess I'd say doing those STEM subjects. But also I think for GCSEs, you can kind of just choose a wide variety. Even if you are interested in STEM, I did geography, I did history, added those things in. But I would say if you're doing A levels, I know that a lot of my friends, they did do maths and physics, because if you do want to go on to the degree apprenticeship, they are what people look for, especially the university. So they are kind of a fundamental that you have to do.
Yeah, no, I was never a scientific lover. I used to never used to be good. Like when we used to do like the you know, the science experiments. Yeah, always went wrong for me. Always. But was it
Biology,
not
yeah, I
for
was going
me?
to say that wasn't my favourite one, though, not at all. They always used to ask the most abstract questions in the exams. I was like, how does this relate to what I was learning?
Yeah, the practicals wasn't my thing. When we had to do a frog and things like that, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me today. I'm just going to finish it at that one there. So we've spoke about it is in your way how you're working now. It's not typically male dominated, but as a whole in engineering, is the numbers within it kind of show where we are at the moment. What would you say? Have you faced any challenges as someone being a female in the engineering industry, and how have you got past them?
I've been asked this question before, and I think it really makes me reflect on my journey and feel like how grateful I am to have had the journey that I have. And I have to say, no. I'm very fortunate that I personally feel like I haven't faced any major challenges, but something that I recognise as a massive challenge is confidence. And I think confidence in people believing that they deserve to be in that environment when they are. You know, they deserve to be working on these amazing projects. And I really just want to stress to people, you are there for a reason. You know, you've got the accreditations. Even if you haven't got the accreditations, they've chosen you, and that's what you have to remember. You have to remember that you are the only one in charge of your career, and you've just got to believe in yourself. You've got to back yourself, because there are opportunities there, but there are more opportunities when you chase them and when you put yourselves out there. So really have the confidence that you belong in this industry. And, you know, if potentially in the environment that you're not in, you don't see the visibility, become the visibility, you know, do the things that you would have wanted to see when you were younger. So I think that's probably one that will resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, making sure that just being yourself is enough at the end of the day. I think that is one of the main things that I always say to everyone, is being yourself, and believing in yourself is one of the most important, because obviously I can tell with you've gotten so far, but you put so much hard work into it, and it's you making sure that you believe in what you do.
Yeah.
Because I've had a look, you were at done BBC Radio the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, that was literally
That was
just
cool.
on Tuesday. Oh, that was so cool. It was kind of out of the blue. They just messaged me and I was like, oh, yeah, I'd love to come on.
And then you
They
done the
did.
orchestra, didn't you? I saw
Yeah,
that
that
one.
was conducting an orchestra, a little side quest. But one of my proudest moments is in February for International Women's Day. I was invited to 10 Downing Street by the
Saw
Prime
that one.
Minister.
That's cool.
And I have to admit, I thought it was a spam email. Like, I'd just come back from holiday. Work does these emails to test if you're alert. And I was like, oh my gosh, they've got me again. But then I RSVP and obviously it was real. And it was just so surreal because there was so many other women of, different sectors, different seniority who've done some amazing things, and to even be recognized. Because I asked one of the ladies, the aides, I was like, how did I even get here? And she said, you were nominated. And that's why I'm saying people are always watching. They might not be interacting, but people are always seeing what you're doing. And another thing that I've done is I've do the day job, but I get involved with a lot of stuff outside of work. So something that I've been really proud of is the work that I've done with the Institute of Apprenticeships and Technical Education. So that's helping to shape apprenticeships, shape the policy around that. And that was really something I saw on an internal Teams message being like, does anyone want to join this? I applied, I got in. And from them, I was invited to conferences, spoke at the House of Lords. I was invited to Buckingham Palace because of the work that I did with them. And the ball really started rolling. So I'd really say to people, not even if you're an apprentice, just to anyone, look outside of your day-to-day job for things you can get involved with, because that will really make a difference. It will really kind of impact your personal brand, and how people see you, and if they see that you might be the perfect person for opportunities. Because you just, as I said, so you got to look after yourself really.
And do what you enjoy the most. And at the same,
Exactly.
you've
And I
been to
think,
Buckingham Palace. That's fun.
yeah.
I'd be like, oh,
And I think with engineering, obviously it's very technical, but I'm also a people person. So it's nice that I'm able to do that technical job, but then also have avenues where I can explore and be my, more extroverted self, and do that as well.
because you've gone on to, you do 1 day a week at the marketing.
So 1 day a week, I work in the global internal comms and marketing team. And that's something that's totally not related to technical engineering, but really they've come in hand because I'm working on projects. Because I sit in a technical team, I understand how engineers think. I understand what motivates them, chartership, accreditation. And then I'm able to tell that to the comms team, because the comms team, none of them have an engineering background. So I'm really bridging that gap. And I'm also an early career in my company, and nobody in the comms team is an early career. So, that's a big proportion of the company. So again, I'm able to inform them of the things that drive us and motivate us. And that's really come about because they've seen the stuff that I've been doing on LinkedIn and internally on Viva Engage, and that's how the opportunity arose. But if I hadn't have done any of that sort of thing, I wouldn't have been doing it. But it's something that's very cool, and I think it adds to my job and makes me a better communicator for her.
And open doors where you didn't know they'd be opened.
Yeah,
At the end of the
100%,
day.
100%, exactly.
You love your job. I can tell that how you talk about it. You seem like it is really not just a job, it's your career that you're really excited about. Do you ever suffer from Monday blues, and how do you get over them?
I feel like probably not. I probably have. No, I have. Let's be honest. I have. But I think that's mostly when there's like a low period of work. So obviously with consultancy, it's very much peaks and troughs. And, as humans, we want to feel like we're making an impact. We want to feel useful. So probably when work has been low, I've been a bit like, because I just want to sink my teeth into something. But I'd say mostly no, because as you said, I enjoy what I do. And I also have stuff that keeps me busy as well. I have my engineering, have my comms, have a load of other stuff. And I feel like it all balances each other out in that sense. And, I'm doing stuff that is good for my career, but also that I enjoy as well. And so I think if someone is getting Monday blues, I think probably like evaluate, what do you want to do with your career? What's your purpose? What is your skill set? What drives you? And really move to a job that does that for you, and where you don't get that feeling. Because I remember I saw something and it was like, you want to have a job where you're not just looking forward to the holidays, you're enjoying like the everyday. So I think that's something that people need to prioritize.
No, I totally agree. So this is going to be a hard one because it's probably not just one thing.
Okay.
What do you love most about your job?
I think, oh God, yeah, you're right. It's hard.
Thought I'd test you on this one.
What do I love most? I think just the different things that I do. I think Working in a big company, I am lucky to have those different opportunities, as I said, working with the comms team that probably wouldn't have happened with a smaller company. It might have, of course, don't know. But I love that. Yeah, I might be doing engineering analysis one day, might be doing some CAD drawings another day, might be doing a PowerPoint comms deck another day, might be on a podcast like today.
It's always different.
Yeah, it's always different, and I think I'm the type of person I'd probably get bored if it was the same thing and over again. I need that kind of like stimulation. So yeah, I love the versatility, and I think with doing an apprenticeship, you do get that a lot of the time.
So one thing in your work, how does engineering in your sector make a difference to the world? Why is it important to go into and still be being done?
Yeah, definitely. I think it really is fundamental. I think engineers probably don't get enough credit for what they do, because engineers don't really shout out about what they do, but it really is helping communities and cities thrive. So we help build the infrastructure, that allows you to go see your friends, go to family, go to work, and it really allows people to get moving. It allows connectivity with different regions, different countries. So it really is fundamental that the infrastructure we're using works. That's what I like about what I'm doing having a difference on people's lives, because you might think, oh, okay, how is fixing a highway having a difference? But it's making someone's commute easier, it's giving them less stress in the morning, and I want to do something that kind of impacts people and makes a positive change. And I know a lot about sustainability is coming into the forefront. We talk about a lot at work, at university, and I was looking at the different materials, that sort of thing. So seeing how I can not just contribute to people's life, but also the environment and making the world a better place. That's sort of our slogan. But yeah, so
throwing it in there.
There we go, sliding it in. But yeah, so I think in that regards, engineering is just really important. And if you're someone who wants to make a difference, wants to help contribute for communities, connectivity, thriving of regions, then it's something that you should definitely pursue and look into.
So moving forward from that, is there a project that you've worked on that you are most proud of? Is it a hard one?
No, so there is a project that I'm most proud of, and I think it was because initially I found it so hard at the beginning. So it was working on a rail line, and we were doing some analysis of this data. So I was handed like a massive sheet of data, and I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? It took me like a week to figure it out, but then I got there, and I just felt so fulfilled with the task because, it was on the railway. There was like a bridge that was potentially going to collapse due to like the settlement. So we were analyzing the data and seeing, okay, it might collapse here. This is when you have to kind of make it stronger. And so because I had that initial challenge at the beginning, when I got it, you're just so happy, you're just like a light bulb. And I really felt that me and my engineer worked really well together, coming up with a new innovative solution and presenting really complex data in an easy, digestible way. Because that's the thing, sometimes with engineering, they love their acronyms, they love complicated language.
They love the big words.
They love the reports. Exactly. I'm a visual person. I was like, we need to put some images
Honestly,
in there.
My other half, he's an engineer, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? I don't know what you're saying to me. Even though I specialise in it, I'm still like, that's a big word. That's not for me.
Yeah. So it was nice because at the end, we did make a report, but then we also made these nice figures that explain the data that allow people to understand it. So I was really proud of that. And as I said, I learned a lot, and I was just like, oh, I did it.
Finished it, you done it, and you got
there. Exactly.
What would you tell the younger generation who want to explore building a career in engineering, but they don't know where to start? I know that's a really hard question to answer.
It is a hard question.
A bit of a complicated one, how I said that.
Yeah, I think because there's just so much in it and so much out there online, it can be very overwhelming. So the first thing I'd say is probably just maybe do one of those career quizzes that kind of test your skills. And I think the government have sort of those things like, I don't know what they're called, career quizzes, and see where your interests might align into what career and if it pinpoints a specific sector of engineering. And then I'd say just do a Google, see what companies are doing, what more there is to the sector. AI makes everything really easy to understand these days, so don't be afraid to use that to explain terms you might not understand. And then once you've found your sector, really research the companies, research like the type of projects that they work on. If you're interested in doing an apprenticeship, the gov.apprenticeships website is really good. Also, UCAS have introduced an apprenticeship area, so you can find out more about that. But really, I just say research. It's something that because my degree is 5 years, so it's a big commitment. So if you're not too sure, get sure. Do you know what I mean? Before you do a massive jump. But then I'd also advocate for example, a level 4 apprenticeship. That's only about 18 months, 2 years, so it's less of a commitment. So yeah, just do your research. Speak to your family, your friends, career advisors, and that sort of thing.
There's quite a lot of fairs now as well, isn't there?
Yes, career
That's going
fairs.
on. Yeah, where you
Yeah.
can kind of go down that route. I know a lot of engineering companies do go to them now.
Yeah.
Where you can kind of ask questions like people like you that will be there.
Yeah.
That's kind of gone down that route. If you could go back and talk to your younger self and describe the magic of engineering, where you've got to and all these amazing things you've done, what would you say to her to keep her going to get to that place?
I would say keep being proactive, keep asking questions. You can't be afraid to ask questions because you come into this sector and you really don't know anything in the grand scheme of things, but you're surrounded by people who have lots of experience. My line manager's been here for 30 years. So it'd be so silly for me to not use her infinite pool of knowledge and ask questions. So don't think that you're going to look silly at all. Ask those questions, show your eagerness, show your enthusiasm. And I'd also say, keep smiling as well, because I love smiling. And I know it sounds so simple, but when you're coming into a new corporate environment, especially from school, smiling goes a long way. It helps you to meet people that will open up your world and your network. So yeah, keep smiling, keep asking questions, keep being proactive.
It's some great advice. Why do you think it's so important to have more females in engineering and more younger people coming into engineering?
Yeah, and I think that this goes back to the point I made earlier. It's about the visibility, and it's about allowing people who potentially, don't have as much confidence to then see people who look like them in that position. And it's about allowing them to feel a sense of belonging and allowing them to, feel like they deserve to be there. So I think it's really important, and I think companies need to use the employees that they have to showcase, okay, these are what our amazing employees are doing, these are their backgrounds. And because that's what I do for my company, advocating, and I know loads more people now know who they are because of it. But yeah, so definitely companies take the initiative to gather your employees on board and use them, and also do outreach. I think social value is really important, and getting into those grassroots, into schools, to talk and showcase, you can achieve whatever you put your mind to.
Obviously, I know who you work for they are a very big corporate business, and it's nice how they support people like you.
Yeah.
And how many people are part of your apprenticeship then? How many did you go in on your own, or did you
my cohort, there was 3 of us, so there really wasn't a lot. But that's within transport. And then I think last year there was 30 apprentices in the whole of the UK, and this year there's going to be about
Cool.
50. So it's actually not a lot, because we do have a lot of offices. I think we've got maybe like 12 UK offices. So again, it just shows you how competitive it is. But the great thing is, now that the apprenticeship space is growing, there's a lot of apprentice networks out there. So there's like the Association of Apprentices, who, if you do join a smaller company, because there are so many benefits for doing that as well, and potentially they have less apprentices, then there are networks you can join externally to feel that kind of social engagement, because I think that's a thing that stops a lot of people, that FOMO of missing out on the university experience. But I also think rationalize, because as an apprentice you have money, you can go on holidays, you can do a lot of other fun stuff that potentially you might not be able to as a uni student.
And you have friends that are probably in uni that you can
I
go
go
and
and
have.
visit them
You
all
can
the
have that
time.
little
Exactly.
experience, and then you don't have to be poor and kind
Yeah.
of going having to live in the uni halls. That's not a bit of me.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it might be for some
Exactly.
people. But yeah, no, I would rather my nice holidays and kind of be in the sun and things like that. Because you was part of, you were part of the handball GB team, is that correct?
Yes, that was something that I now say I'm a retired. I know retired at 19 sounds a bit crazy, but I did that for about, I think it was 4 years. Got the opportunity to go to Denmark, Spain, Kosovo, Uzbekistan. It was a massive part of my life, and I think that's the thing I also want to say. Because I started corporate so young, I think it could be so easy to get consumed with it, but you have to remember that you work to live. So you have to have a life outside of work, and that's why I do sports, I have hobbies, I like experiences, I go on holidays because, I enjoy what I do at work, but there's more to life than that. So, it's good to be ambitious with your career, but don't let it consume you and just enjoy life too.
Do what you want to enjoy. And
Yeah.
just got 2 more questions for you. So,
Yeah, of course.
do you find being an engineer going into day-to-day life, they come hand in hand? Do you sometimes look at things and go, oh yeah? Do you feel like it supported you in your personal life as well, where you are now being an engineer?
I would say I look at infrastructure a lot more. Like, I remember I was doing a task at university designing a petrol station, and I was like a right weirdo taking pictures of all the petrol stations when I was out walking. And like, I look at roads more, which sounds weird. I look at buildings, I look at like the beams, the arches, all that
I
sort
do
of
all
stuff.
the time. So
Yeah,
I
so
did
I
not
feel
know.
like it's woken me up more to the world and to like how infrastructure is actually built in that sense. I feel like maybe my apprenticeship has made me resilient as well. I think I've always been quite a resilient person, but as I said, it's not easy, but being able to see all the stuff that I've achieved, it makes me excited for what I can continue to achieve. And also owning my own voice as well. I think, as I said, I started young at 16, but feeling empowered to feel like I can say my opinion and everything that I say is valued, and taking that outside of work too. If I'm going to like a networking event, feeling confident in that sense. So yeah, I think they're the key things. But I feel like I've always been a bit like this.
Been that kind yeah,
Yeah.
I could talk to a brick wall, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I think I'd entertain myself more. So where do you want to be in 10 years? Do you know? I know it's a really hard question to ask, because someone asked me, I'd be like, I'm not sure. Not sure where I want to be. But where do you see yourself in? Do you still see yourself in engineering?
10 years' time, I would have definitely finished my degree and hopefully achieved incorporated status, which goes along with it. I think you learn your skill set when you're in like a working environment, and I enjoy the technical, but I think my skill set is like people, relationships, connections, and so I think it would be silly not to lean into that. So I don't know what exactly that would look like, but I definitely still think within engineering, but maybe more outward facing, talking to clients about their needs and then, relaying that to the engineers. But I think it would be beneficial because I will actually have that technical understanding of all the inputs that go into a project. So yeah, that sort of thing I'm thinking. But who knows?
Who knows?
Who
Do you know
knows?
what? We never know. We never
No.
know. That's what I always like to say. You don't know what's happening tomorrow. And one last thing is, what would you say to females that are looking to go into engineering?
If you're looking to go into engineering, just go for it, because it's a great sector. You're adding great value into the world. You'll be learning lots. It's exciting, different things. And definitely just do your research, back yourself, look into the right company, the right sector, and please don't be put off by external factors. And if you really want to do it, just keep pushing for it, and it certainly will pay off.
So that now brings us to an end of the podcast of today's episode. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
You are obviously a true inspiration to women in engineering, and also the apprenticeship. It is a massive thing that you're doing, and you are definitely inspiring people to move up, and it is great to see women in engineering really making them big movements. And I'm going to inspire to go to 10 Downing Street now. I'm going to try and do a year. So it was great having a chat with you, my love.
Yes, you too, Ashleigh.
And I hope all for the best, and I can't wait to watch your journey and see what else happens.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, and I hope everyone has a lovely day.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.